Jennifer Weisselberg, the former daughter-in-law of Allen Weisselberg. She's spoken with investigators in this case multiple times. I know, Jennifer, that you have not yet read the indictment, so I'm not going to ask you specifically about that. But can you tell us a little bit more about what the testimony that you've shared with investigators has been about now that this indictment is public?
I mean, in terms of the indictment, I would like to know what it says, because I'd like to confirm or deny if I believe it's true. I heard from, your senior producer at NBC that it was a long day in court. But it seems like it's more than the taxes. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'll share with you just some of the general outlines of it as our team continues to go through it. One, they're alleging that it was over multiple years, not just one specific year. It alleges an amount of $1.7 million. And that it was a scheme that involved members of the organization and not just one individual, if you will. So some of the general, I don't know, grand larceny, second degree is a specific charge. I'm not necessarily sure that would mean something to you. But in the context of what we're talking about, the charges allege that it is an organizational effort to defraud both city, state, and federal tax payers, if you will, by not paying taxes, as well as this amount that we were talking about in the amount of $1.7 million.
But 1.7, are we talking about just Allen himself, or are we talking about Trump org?
Well, we'll have to look into that specifically, but I just want to know, from terms of what you've participated in with the investigators, can you talk to us about what you have said to them?
In specifics, it's better that I don't, but I'm thrilled to hear that this is not just about an apartment and a Mercedes. Yes, you mentioned something prior about the White House. This is a serious criminal organization. The grand larceny, the theft, the tax evasion, the tax fraud, it bleeds into the White House. It is Allen. It is all the officers. It's the family. I need to look at the indictment itself, but if that's what the DA came up with, they didn't come up with it because of witch hunt. They came up with it with proof. And yes, that's the evidence that I've been showing them, and I'm happy that Jeff McConney and others were able to walk them through the documents I had to prove that that is true. I mean, this is very serious.
What kind of documents did you provide them with?
So the documents pertain to Trump compensation, payroll, information regarding the controller into the Trump Payroll Corp. Allen Weisselberg having a guy at Chase who stole my money behind my back and moved to Fidelity in order to put himself and his son on bank accounts so that he could funnel money, which was one of the DA's issues, was what is the org, what is funnel as compensation, what belongs to who, and depositions where they contradict themselves numerous times. That being said, we are just getting started. But I mean, I'm shocked. Right. It's the first time I'm hearing that this is 1.7, and I don't think that that's something to poo-poo at.
Let me just get your reaction to seeing Allen Weisselberg when he was walking into the courtroom today when he was handcuffed. Just give us your personal opinion as somebody who was part of that family. What did you think? What were you feeling when you saw him walk in there handcuffed?
Well, I missed it because I knew it was going to come in the back, but I didn't see him handcuffed. I haven't seen it yet. I've been so busy fighting all day. I'm still working with the DA on continuing this case in terms of cash and the woman rink and other issues. Right. But I am very grateful that, in this country, to my children, it matters that you do the right thing, that there's justice. I didn't see him handcuffed. But I mean, your senior producer, Adam Reese, told me that he was still there. He was still listening to indictments. I think for the first time, he might have found out that, like, this is real.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm the one that was able to put my voice to the documents to say that there are still other things that were compensated. In the 1.7, I'm not sure exactly what you're saying in terms of the White House, but it was all to benefit them.
Okay, Jennifer Weisselberg, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and insights. We'll give you some time to look at the indictment, and I'll speak to you
Yes.
later in.